Well, hello guys. What we're going to be looking at today is the struct module system, and specifically concentrating on the Rust's the book chapter 7, managing growing projects with packages, crates and modules. Please read the book. It really gets you started with some really good examples. Doesn't go too in depth, but it does cover quite a lot of the things that you need to get going very well actually. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is to create ourselves a new project. Okay, so we're using cargo. I think I'm on Rust 147, yeah, 1.47. Alright, so we create a new binary. A binary in Rust, if we just say cargo new, it'll create us an executable. Okay, you can create a DLL, a library, whatever the case may be. But the binary we're going to be doing today is just a normal executable, so we don't have to specify anything fancy. We can just say, let's give it a name, my modules. Okay, and we change into my modules and we say code dot to start up Visual Studio Code. All right, it's started up, and we should now already have a Hello World running app. Okay, and there we have Hello World. So if I open up the terminal down here and I just say cargo run, and to open the kernel, well, I suppose you know, but maybe not. You just press control and then I think it's a tilde character. The key next to, on the left hand side of the number 1 key on your keyboard. Just press that and you'll get the terminal. Okay, we say cargo run, it'll build it and then run it for us, and it says hello world. Alright, so our hello world program works. Now what we want to do, for instance, is we don't want to say hello world, we want to say hello somebody's name. Okay, hello Sally Stevens or Sally whatever. All right, so what we want to do is you can just type that directly in, obviously Sally Stevens, but we want to use a struct now, and we're calling it let's say person, and it's got 2 fields on it. So we've got a first name, oops, snake case, first name, which is of data type string, and I made a spelling, so first name. Okay, and surname, also data type string. All right, first name, surname. Okay, so now what we need to do obviously is create an instance of this person. All right, so we create a new person equals person. All right, and you could obviously put in all the like first name and so forth, surname. You can put all this on one line. With a small struct it's okay, with large structs don't do that. Okay, it's more idiomatic to do it this way, as everyone does it. Alright, so first name is going to be string from what did I say, Sally, I think I said, yes, Sally, Sally. Alright, and we also need a surname, and her surname is, let's say, Jones, Sally Jones, and we make it surname. Alright, whoops, surname, surname, alright, and, sorry, okay, and what's he complaining about here now? What did I forget here now? Oh, of course, sorry, yeah, you got to end the line, okay. Alright, so we want to say hello Sally Jones, so we got 2 placeholders here for it. Alright, and it is person dot first name comma person dot surname. Alright, and there we have it. Alright, and we should have absolutely no errors, and it should, instead of saying hello world, it should say hello Sally Jones. Alright, so it's building, and there it says hello Sally Jones. Okay, as expected. Now, okay, all the code that I've written so far is in one module. Okay, it's our main root module. Okay, this is where the program starts. The execution starts in the main function, and this is all one module. Now obviously as projects get bigger, you don't want to keep things in the same module. You don't want to have 100 structs, 25 enums and 500 functions all stuck in one file. You want to pull it out into different modules or namespaces. Okay, now namespaces are scoped. Okay, so what's declared in one module is not accessible by another module. So what we want to do is we want to take person as a struct. We want to take that out here, all right, and pull it out and stick it into a separate file. All right, Now, our first level of difficulty, beyond just what we've looked at now, is just to create another file, all right? So if I right mouse click on source here and I say new file, and I'm going to call it structs, okay? Because we're going to stick all our structs inside there, all right? So what we're effectively doing is we're declaring a new module, all right? So I'll put my struct inside there, and okay, so we've got problems now, all right? Person, he doesn't know where person comes from, all right? Because the person is declared in the structs module, okay, we don't have access to it, all right? Now, okay, there's a few issues, but the first one is we need to bring that module of ours, the structs module, into scope. We want to tell it that, or our main module, that we want to use the structs module. So to bring it into scope, we say mod to bring a module into scope, all right? And it is structs. So mod structs, all right? So what we have now is we have a namespace that we've got access to, a module we've got access to called structs. But person is still underlined in red here because he doesn't know, you know, we can have many modules and there might be a person in 3 of those modules. So which person in specific are we referring to? We're referring to the person in the structs module. All right. And there it tells us everything is good. Okay, well, except for the first name and the surname. We'll get to that now. Now, the thing is, if you yeah, okay, we'll get to that later. Now, the problem is first name and surname is still giving us errors, all right? And the reason for that is because the person has now been declared in a different module, all right? We can't actually get to the person, okay, because it's not made public, all right? So we say, all right, the person must be public, and we also want to have access to the first name and the surname because you can make it private. All right, so if we want to give another module access to it, we must make them public. All right, so what we've done is we've declared our struct, which is public, and we've made our first name and surname publics as well, and we have absolutely no errors, and it works as before. All right, so if we run it again, we shall see hello Sally Jones, okay, and everything is good. All right, now we're going to get to something later which is called re-exporting, okay, where you'll put a pub, for instance, inside here. Okay, so all right, let's have a look at that, for instance. So let's say now we have yet another, let's say for instance let's create another file, a new file, and that is let's just call it I don't know, stuff. All right, stuff.rs. all right, so we've got a new module called stuff. Okay, not very well named, but okay, we've got a new module called stuff. All right, now if you come from an object-oriented world, you can think of a module as a collection, well, a namespace, all right, in which you can throw methods and so forth directly, functions directly. If you're coming from the C# world, for instance, then you can think of it as a class. All right, so you don't have to type out class and then a class name and so forth, or module in the you are inside that already. It's already been created for you. The mere fact that you created stuff.rs means you've created this module. Okay, now let's assume that stuff.rs has got a method on it that also does a print line. Okay, now we know we're going to call it from our main module. All right, now because of that, we know that it's a different scope, so our function has got to be made public. All right, so let's just call it print as well. All right, and it takes no parameters, for instance, and doesn't return anything, and it also just does a print line. All right, print line, sorry, pub fn, that's why it's complaining. All right, so this is a clear function. All right, and we're going to print line as well. Okay, and we want to do, let's say we want to do the exact same thing, for instance. So this logic we want to pull out, all right, and actually print it inside. So we're going to take that line away, and we want to do the printing in stuff. All right, so this print here, all right, it must print out a person's first name and surname and so forth. All right, but we don't actually have access to a first name and a surname. Okay, it's not giving issues at the moment because there's nothing referring to stuff. Okay, it only cares once there's a reference of some kind to it. So if we go back to main, all right, so let's just, I'm cutting this, so that's in memory. So what we want to do is we want to call stuff, okay, and on stuff you want to run the method print, okay, but the same problem we have, stuff is not in scope, okay, so we can't get to it. So we say we want to import stuff, so we want to import stuff, all right, and oops, and now we've got access to print, and it'll go ahead and do our print for us. All right, so now we see that stuff is in red here because we're referring to it, and he says, well, person, we don't know what this is about, okay, what is person? We'll say, no, okay, we're going to create an instance of person, and so this is basically, we've moved all our logic that we had in the main function, and we've stuck it in the print function of stuff. But now he says, but hang on a second, I don't know where structs is, all right? Remember, it's not in the same scope, they're in two different modules, all right? So how do we access stuff? Well, if we do it the same way as we did it in main.rs, for instance, we say mod stuff, okay? So we or in this case, we need to bring in to view or into scope the structs module, okay? It's like, what you doing, okay? The module, the mod command like this, you cannot use, okay, in another module other than the main module, okay, or the lib.rs or the main.rs. A lib for if you're doing a library, and main if you're just doing a normal binary, executable binary. So you need to use the use statement, all right. So in other words, you can just remember this little rule. Mod is what you use in main.rs, and modules referring to each other needs to use all right. So if we say use structs, for instance, all right, he doesn't know where structs is, okay. So if you look at the documentation, all right, you think, well, that will work. Well, just briefly read over the documentation. So yeah, but we can say crate, you know, from the root. No, you can't do that either. All right, so what we can do then is, there's other ways of doing this, all right. But if we go to main, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to import mod crates, mod structs, okay, but we're going to make it public, a re-export, publicly accessible, all right, so we're going to make it public, all right. Now what that means is, okay, that's stuff. Now stuff, remember the main module is in main.rs. Stuff is just another module, all right. Now it can refer to the main module, all right. So you can say, for instance, super, okay, and then what it's doing is it's saying, all right, refer to the main module, which or my previous module. Now everything basically comes from the root module, but say you can have modules referring to their parent module. You can have a whole structure of modules, you know, like for instance, yeah, we're just dealing with the stuff.rs, but stuff might have been a folder, and under folder you can create another folder with, you know, additional stuff, folder. Each one of those is a module all the way down to where the mod.rs file is going to lie. But we're going to get to that in a moment. We don't want to get too technical. We had the first level, just the application, the binary with the main module and everything running inside that file, the main.rs. We've now gone one step further. We've got modules that lie in .rs files, also in the root of our application under source, and we can refer to them, all right, and use them. Okay, if you want to go to another level of complexity, okay, let's say for instance structs, you might have, you know, hundreds of structs that also needs to be broken up into, you know, separation of concerns, you know, into related structures, all right. You don't want to have, for instance, your structs dealing with a person as well as your structs dealing with network packets and so forth, all stuck into the same struct file. You would rather have a structs folder, all right, and split up your stuff inside there. So let's take structs out, all right. Let's delete the structs file, okay, move to trash. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a folder, okay, a new folder, and that I'm going to call structs, Okay, and then inside structs, all right, we're going to create a new file. Okay, and we're going to call it mod.rs. This is what you have to do. So what we've effectively done is, you have to call it mod.rs is what I mean. What we've effectively done is the exact same thing as we did just now with structs.rs, but now we've got, it's still used the exact same way, but we have a folder called structs with a file underneath it called mod. All right, and you can now create more files under mod. So let's say, for instance, mod, let's say we want to take that out, all right, and under structs here we create a new file and we call it resources, for instance. Okay, so it's the resources for our application we're writing, which consists of people and all sorts of things. Okay, so the human resources and so forth. So resources, all right, .rs. Okay, and we stick our person inside there, and we might have another struct inside here which is public or not public, but in our case we want everything to be public because it's accessible from outside. And we can say let's call it animal, for instance, struct animal, and let's say it's just got a field called type on it, all right, which is yeah, let's just, it's just an unsigned byte. Okay, so so it can be a 1 or 2. Sorry, that's a type of animal. Okay, so what I can do is, if I remember correctly, in Rust we can just put that in front of it, or what is it, that in front of it. No, I can't remember now. Okay, so all right, so that's a reserved word, but there's a way of using them. I forgot now how to do it. All right, so what we've got now is, okay, we've got a structs folder, and inside the structs folder we've got mod.rs, okay, and which has got nothing in it. And then inside resources, okay, this is where our person class actually lies. So if we come back to stuff, all right, it's got no access, all right, to resources. All right, so we got to say, all right, the full namespace to it. So we can say use structs, all right, and then, or import structs, or use structs, okay, and then give them the full path, which then will be structs resources. So it's I think, yeah, you might not like it, but all right, resources, and then person, and then, okay, so no, he doesn't like that. All right, so we're gonna have to say then up here, structs resources. Doesn't like that either. I think it's because of the, oh, okay, my mistake. All right, so okay, let's just go back to our mod here, sorry, our main mod. All right, so in here, for instance, what do we want to export? We want to export everything. No, doesn't like that. Tab mod structs, and then we're gonna say, no, it doesn't like that at all. Okay. Okay, so in order for us to be able to use the structs module, the resources module in stuff, okay, we actually have to export this resources module. All right, now remember, in stuff we are referring to structs. Now what structs is actually referring to, okay, is the mod.rs, our main module. All right, so it's referring to this file. So in other words, in order to give access to resources, to anything that's referring to structs, we've got to export it with the resources. Okay, so we bring it into scope by saying mod resources. All right, but now that's scope to, okay, if we want to give it scope to external modules, the same as what we did just now, we're going to make it public. All right, and so if we go to stuff here now, all right, he's happy with structs that's coming in, okay, but we're actually dealing with resources and then person. All right, and we should get again the exact same printout. Hello Sally Jones. There we go. Hello Sally Jones. So the takeaway from all this is, so far, basically that if you start your original application, all right, you start with your main.rs file. Okay, your main.rs file, okay, is what gets the main function is what gets called first, all right. And you can create all your structs inside here, which means it's in the same scope. Scope means what is accessible, variables, you know, structs and so forth. What is actually accessible? Everything in the same scope has got access to each other. All right, and scoping is the whole clue about modules. All right, so what we're saying is, for instance, we want to have, we want to call stuff. All right, but that is declared in a different module. All right, stuff.rs. Okay, so it's a file directly called stuff.rs. So stuff.rs becomes a module. Okay, so for the main function to be able to use stuff, it's got to bring it into scope. All right, but it's not re-exporting it to the public. It's just using it itself. It doesn't care about anyone else ever calling it. All right, but what it does do though is it does re-export the structs class for module for us, or namespace for us, the module. All right, now the structs module, okay, is actually not a file like stuff.rs. It's a folder, all right, which means it's got to have a mod.rs file. Okay, so when it says I want to use pubmod structs, it's actually saying I want to use this file, the mod.rs file. So anything that wants access, for instance, to resources, all right, you have to, in the mod.rs file, say, okay, make resources, import the module and make it public. So make the scope accessible to stuff, to main, so through main through to stuff, and then stuff can call it. And that's basically the basics of how to use the module system in Rust. So typically a lot of smaller projects, you're just going to create, for instance, like I've done, for instance, here, like with stuff.rs, you're going to have structs.rs, enums.rs, and so forth, and just stick all your stuff in there. That's really your smaller projects. But when you're starting getting onto larger projects, you want to use structs, folders. All right, and you can have folders and folders and subfolders and subfolders, but the way that they refer to each other is the same. This super, for instance, can refer to a previous module that you're working on, all right, if it's been exposed. So, but this is the basics, this is the introduction. All right, what you can then do further is, obviously, a lot of you are going to be using other crates and so forth. Let's say, for instance, we want to use a random number generator. So if we go to crates.io, crates, do I have it here? Yeah, crates.io. And if you want to use a random number generator, okay, so yeah, we got it already for us. All right, you can do a search, okay, for whatever, but this is the one I want to use, is rand. All right, so we click on that, and it'll tell us the latest version that it's at, and you know, some information of how to use it and so forth. And what it says is, all right, so under dependencies, we got to stick in rand 0.7. All right, you can force it to a particular 0.73, for instance, like they got here. But if you say 0.7, it'll use 0.74, 5, etc. as they update things, the owners of the rand crate. So if we come back to our project, and in our cargo toml file under dependencies, we just paste that rand 0.7. Okay, now in order to be able to use rand, all right, sorry, you have to say, okay, you've got to come over here to our main RS, all right, and we've also got to import basically our crate. Okay, so we say it's external crate, and the name is rand. Okay, how do I know the name is rand? Because in cargo toml it's called rand. Okay, so if we go back to our main.rs, okay, we've got rand, all right? And let's say, for instance, under this, we want to print out a random number, okay? So we've said rand, okay, but what's the following? All right, so let's just separate those a little bit. So under that, we want to say print line and just say random is some value, okay, which is going to be the name of some variable, which we're going to call random number, okay. And now, all right, so what we're going to say is random number must be equal to equal, okay, rand, rand, come on, rand, rand, okay, random, okay, a random number of type generic type. Let's say, for instance, I want to generate a 64-bit unsigned number. All right, so what we've done is we've imported an external crate. We brought into scope, in other words, in our main module, okay, a crate called rand. All right, so if I run it now, okay, it's going to print out two things for us. Oh, hello Sally Jones, and it never did random. What did I do wrong here? Print random. For some reason is exiting stuff.print. Create a random number. Why did let's just try something here quickly. Let's just take that out and cargo run it. Okay, because it didn't download everything. All right, so if I had just done a build before I did the run, it would have worked. All right, so if we just say stuff there and we run it now, okay, now it works. Okay, so what I mean is, if I had just said build, or I think you can do a check as well, and then it'll just get it'll download the random crate and it'll work. So if we do a run again, okay, so there's our random numbers, and you'll see it keeps changing. It's a nice long 64-bit number. Okay, but what if we want to, for instance, use that crate, all right, externally? All right, so let's say we want to do the same thing again. We want to print out a random number, all right. All right, when we do our print here, okay, it must print out not just hello Sally Jones, but after that it must print out our random number. All right, so if we try and run this now, just want to make sure here quickly. Okay, now he knows, all right, that it's in the main. We've done an import of the crate, okay, and that means that stuff has got access to it. All right. So you don't have to re-export the crate. Okay. Yeah, well, that's the basics. That's the introduction. Okay. How do you import a crate and use a crate? And then how does the module scoping work in Rust? And I hope that's a quick introduction. I hope that helped you out. Yeah. See you next time. Goodbye.